In this episode, we're giving game to younger Jeremy and Joshua Mathis. We've been in business for over 13 years and we've learned a lot of lessons that we wish we knew when we first started out.
I just wish early on we always had that go big mentality. Just think about the mindset that we have now is we're having conversations. How do we make $1 million a month?
And I'm going to give you information that of what I wish I knew back then, what I know now.
So for me, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is decluttering my mind, remove things that are a distraction so I can give the business 150%.
In this episode, we're going to share the top 8 things that we know now that we wish we knew when we first started in business. We're going to talk about everything from the power of compounding to why cash flow is everything, to why everyone is not your customer, and so much more. Let's get exposed. Welcome to another edition of the Expose and Expand podcast show. I'm the man with the plan, Jeremy Mathis.
I'm Joshua. I'm going to give you the game, Mathis, and welcome to another edition of the Expose and Expand podcast show where we expose you to the ideas, the strategies, the struggles, the failures, the people, and the experiences that have gotten us from zero to millions.
In today's episode, we're talking to our younger selves. We've been in business now for the last 13 years to be exact. And over those last 13 years of doing real business with real LLCs and real bank accounts, we've learned a lot of valuable lessons and made a lot of mistakes. And for this episode, we're going to give ourselves game and look back and look over and review all of the things that we've learned in these last 13 years in business. So what we've done is Josh is going to give you some examples of the things he wish he knew when he was younger. And I'm going to give you information that of what I wish I knew back then, of what I know now. Let's get exposed.
Yeah, man. When you told me about this topic, this was one that it got me to really thinking and starting to understand, because we've been in business now for a long time and we've learned a lot of lessons. And as I was reflecting and as I was thinking, you know, we said we'll come up with a few, but I came up with like 10 different things that I wanted to talk about. So, let's just jump off the pause.
I want to make sure I was clear in the intro. I know I kind of stumbled in the intro. Do you think I did a good job of helping people understand what we're going to be doing today?
Yeah. I think it sounds like it was pretty clear to me, helping people understand. And then also, guys, as always, man, we appreciate your support. So if you guys can, please hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, and please follow and leave us a 5-star review if you're listening on any of the podcast players.
Yeah, so what is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew back then when you're in business?
I think for me, one of the most important things that I know now that I wish I knew back then in business was that my mind is one of the greatest assets for the business. And if my mind is not right, the business can't be right. If my mind is cluttered, that means I can't perform in the business the way that I need to. So for me, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is decluttering my mind, remove things that are a distraction so I can give the business 150%.
Got you. So you say that your mind is your biggest asset. And what experience in your life helped you understand that my mind is the thing that really runs this? And obviously we know that, but I know you and you're talking from real perspective. So help us understand. What you mean when you say that?
For me, it's just as we've grown in business, I started to understand and I started to see, like, I was worried about the wrong things, especially even while I was at work. Give you some examples. Who's going to pick the kids up from school? Or did they eat lunch? Or if it's something personal, right? So as opposed to thinking about those things and making sure those things are done, I want to give my mind 100% of the business. Or even when it comes to just the business itself, those small non-revenue generating activities, remove them from my plate as quickly as I can, because those are things that are important, but those are not things that I should be focusing on. My mind should be used to problem solve. My mind should be used to strategize and just to think bigger.
When you say out in more context, when he says solving big problems, problems that really affect the bottom line, not minuscule, tiny problems. So I want to add some clarity to that. I think that's a good first thing, because we both understand that we've gotten here to where we are now just by having the right mindset and being able to focus and do what we need to do to get here. So I think that was a good first one.
But then too, I understand and I see how us having a cluttered mind has slowed us down and slowed our growth down, because we worry about so many things that at the level we're looking to get to, we should not be worrying about. So when I was thinking and I was reflecting, I think that was for sure number one for me. How about you?
Got you. So the top thing that I wish I knew back then that I know now in business is the power of compounding. The power of compounding, meaning back then, if I really focused and made all the money, not all the money, but a lot of money back then, that compounds over time. If I brought more rental properties back then, that compounds over time. If I built more relationships back then, that compounds. So just really understanding how understanding how much of an asset compounding really is. Because you used to always hear back when I was smaller, or back when I was younger, I would always hear Warren Buffett say the greatest thing in the world is compound interest. And the greatest thing that you can do or try to achieve is compounding. And I didn't get it then, but now I'm understanding that in the last 4.5 years, we built a rental portfolio that cash flows us close to $20,000 a month. If we started that 9 years ago, what does that look like compounded today? If we just started to build relationships over the last 4 years since COVID started. If we did that 9 years ago, 12 years ago, when we first started and when we started out in business, what does that look like today compounded? So the first thing that I wanted to talk about and I wanted to share with the audience of one thing that I wish I knew back then that I know now is the power of compounding.
Man, that's a really good first point, and that's something that you and I talk about all the time because we see, in our own lives, and we talk about that all the time. So guys, I hope you didn't miss that gem. Understanding that, start now. Yeah. I think that's what sums it up. Start now, and right, and over time it's going to compound. Whether that's you doing your first real estate deal, whether that's you flipping your next deal, whatever that looks like. But start now.
Yes. I just think about so often if we started a long time ago, and imagine if we didn't do all of the foolish investments and we let that money compound it over time. Yeah. Just think about that. We did nothing with the money, and it compounded over time. We could put it in the treasury bill right now and make 5% per month. Make 5% per month, $800,000 to $1 million. What does that look like compounded over time? So as I grow in business, I'm asking myself, what are the activities that I can do right now for the next couple of years that will compound over time and pay dividends for the rest of my life? Is where I'm at right now mentally.
No, and I think too that comes from exposure, because you and I talk about that all the time. Like, how do we buy cash flow right now? Whether that's in the business, whether that's assets, whether that's investing in the business, like, how do we buy cash flow now? Because as you mentioned, every year it just compounds. It grows. It gets bigger and it gets bigger. 10 years from now, just imagine if we and the guys I'm gonna give you perspective. If we never bought another rental property and we kept things the same way that they are right now, in about 10 years, we can probably, almost double our cash flow. Yeah. Doing nothing different. We don't have to add no new rentals. All we're doing is paying down debt. The rental rates are increasing, and we can double our cash flow.
Yep. Yeah. Power of compounding. Yes. Power of compounding.
Now, this has been good so far. For me, the second thing in business that I know now that I wish I knew then was the same energy it takes to play small is the same energy it takes to play big. So for us, I remember when we first started, I didn't want to own a big company. I wanted to be a hood billionaire. I want to be a hood billionaire. You know what I'm saying? I want to make 6 figures to $1 million. And the same energy it takes to make that money is the same energy it takes to make 100 million. Now, the process and the strategy may be a little different, but the effort is still the same. So for me, I just wish early on we always had that go big mentality.
That's a good one. That is a great point, because most people would look at us now and they would think that we were always like, we want huge companies and we wanted big things. I think we always wanted to make money. Yeah. We knew that. We always wanted to make money, but we never really sat down and got clarity on it. I think now we have clarity and we understand hundreds of millions, billions of dollars is at least in my mindset, and I'm sure it's in your mindset as well, but that's a good point.
Nah, you think about it. When we first started, my goal was, hey man, I want to make 6 figures a year. If we can make $1 million, oh my God, that's great. And now, just think about the mindset that we have now is we're having conversations, man. How do we make $1 million a month? Yeah. how we make $1 million a month. I wish I had the same mindset 13 years ago when we first started in business, because today it'd probably be how we make $100 million, you know? So,
but that's the power of exposure, and that's the power of this show. We're exposing people to the things that we wish we knew back then that we know now, so that as they start on their journey, they don't got to take 13 years to learn these lessons. Yeah. That's the power of educating yourself and listening to the Expose and Expand podcast show, and that's what I love about what we're doing, because we're really like exposing people and giving people real game about how to help them go in life and in business. So that was a good point.
Hey man, if y'all listening, make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all expose somebody to the show.
Yes, for sure. So my second point of what I wish I knew back then that I know now is to show show money on your tax returns. And what that means is when we first started making money, we got hit with some huge tax bills. And that put us in a mode of, you know what? We need to figure out how we don't pay a lot of money in taxes. And what we started to do was run expense-heavy companies, meaning hiring more employees than we needed to, spending more money on things and supplies than we needed to. And I think we became too expense-heavy, focusing on how do we not pay Uncle Sam money. And that hurt us in the long run, because when you want to get lines of credit from the bank, when you want to get loans, when you want to do different things and you need financing, they're looking at your tax returns. And this is not a huge hindrance for us because we know how to raise capital. But if our tax returns look much better, I believe, would have been able to go out and be able to get more financing. Another thing that we didn't think about at the beginning was that we didn't really think we would need bank financing and lines of credits. We always say, you know what, we're going to go out and raise money. But I'm understanding now that was something that I wish we did a little different.
That's a great point, but you said it's not that huge of a hindrance to us, and I agree to a certain extent. It's somewhat of a hindrance because for us, if we can get bank financing, our debt would be cheaper. If our debt would be cheaper, we can do more deals, or we can probably buy a little bit more tighter deals with the market that we're in. Yeah. So for us, guys, that I hope you guys didn't miss that point. So many people, especially on social media or the internet, they say, oh man, you want to cut your taxes, save on taxes. And yes, while that is true, but guys, as you grow in business, you need to be bankable. Yeah. And a part of being bankable is having a solid tax return. You need to show that you're making money, because there's going to be a point in time in your business where you may have to go to the bank to get a loan, where you may need a line of credit.
It ain't going to be May. It will happen. If you're doing business long enough and you're in business and you're growing and you're stretching limits and you're hitting different walls and different challenges, you will need financing. Yeah. It's no way around that. Regardless if your company's making a lot of money, you still need financing to finance different things, and that's one thing that we're learning. Yeah. So, but it goes back to your point. We starting out, we make $100,000, we make $1 million, so we good. We got to that point. We got a little bit comfortable, and it started, and it's affecting us. So, point.
For me, man, my next point, something that I wish I knew now. Something that I know now that I wish I knew then, was cash flow is everything. Cash flow is everything. And for us in our business, we understand in business and in life, right? You want to get to a point where you're always generating income. Sales is everything. If you're having cash coming into your business, that can solve a lot of the problems in your business. That can solve a lot of problems in your personal life. So for me, the point is, we need to always be generating cash flow.
That is a great point. Something that I did not think about it, but that's true, because people always say cash is king, and we've come to believe that cash flow is king and cash is queen, because when you're generating money every single month and money's coming in, you're able to move a little different. You're able to have different conversations. You're able to do different things because you got that cash that replenishes every single month.
And we mentioned this, I think, in a previous episode, is when you have cash flow, you can make decisions for the business that's going to help the business grow, right? As opposed to if you're looking at your bank account, you're saying, I don't have the cash, you're stifling the business. So for me and for us, we understand the power of cash flow, because cash flow not only can cover our overhead, but cash flow can also ensure that we make the investments into the business, into the talent, so that we can continue to grow the business.
That's point taken. And for just having that cash flow has been tremendous for us. And I think at the beginning, we thought about it, but we didn't realize how important it was going to be at this point in our life at 32. We always start at the beginning, or when I'm 40, when I'm 50, when I'm 60, we get all these rental properties and we got cash flow coming in. That's when it's going to benefit us. But it's benefiting us right now. And we've been able to do that, like I said, in the last 4.5 years. Yeah. So just understanding the power of cash flow has been tremendous in our life. And I believe me and you both would much rather have cash flow than cash. We both will have cash flow over cash any day of the week. And that is something that I wish we knew earlier that we know now.
Because when you have cash flow, you could think a little different. You can move a little different, right? When you know every month I got $15,000, $20,000 plus coming into my bank account, I'm not worried about or thinking about how I can produce cash to live the lifestyle that I want, to buy the things that I want. Right. So now it goes back to my first point. It frees up my mind so that I can focus on those revenue generating activities, so that I can strategize on how to build the business that I want.
What cash flow is what Robert Kiyosaki taught us in Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is you need to have an asset that pays for the liabilities or that pays for your lifestyle. Yeah. That's what cash flow is. Yeah. Because we read Rich Dad Poor Dad 1920, and again, you just don't understand it because you at the time, for me, I didn't have enough perspective and enough experience to truly understand that concept. Now I understand that concept because our cash flow pays for a lot of our lifestyle and a lot of what we're doing in business just because we had cash flow from rental properties. Another good point by Josh. That boy actually helping us out today. That boy doing good today.
Talk to me, man. What you got?
That good. So my next point of what I wish I knew then that I know now in business is the power of who, not how. And we talked about this in episode 17, who, not how. But back then, I wish we got it. Yeah. Because before it was me and you. We was the team. We ain't need no other players on the team because we was going to get it done. And we trained ourselves that we going to get it done by all means. And that's what we did for so long. But yet that hindered us. Because it was just me and you trying to always do everything. And that started to compound over time where we's doing everything, but we're taking on more. And what that's doing is that's sucking away our time freedom, which is why we got into being entrepreneurs. And that really put us in a bad position, meaning our time. So just really understanding the power of delegating, the power of having a good team, and the power of always asking yourself, who can do this for me? Not how can I do it myself?
So that was actually my last point, but I got one in the background as a backup. But guys, don't miss that point. Don't miss that point. Guys, the team with the best players win. Who, not how. And for us, like you said, it was always early on in business. It was, man, how can we hire somebody? We need to find the cheapest person. And now our mindset has shifted and we start understanding that A players is what's going to take us to where we need to go. A players are going to come in and challenge us. A players are going to force us to become better leaders. A players are going to come in and ensure that we step our game up. So, guys, don't miss that point. And understand, if you want to build a real business, if you want to build a business of value that has enterprise value, you need A players to do that.
And this is more evident for us now because, as you guys know, if you've been listening to the last couple of episodes, you know that we are in rebuild phase with our real estate investment company. Josh is building EDU. We're still building our rental portfolio. We're building this podcast show. Everything around us is just build. But it's becoming so much easier to build as we are finding the right A players to make it happen. We're able to tell them, hey, guys, this is the vision. This is what we want to get done. We get their input. We finalize the plan and the strategy, and we know that it's getting done. We know that it's happening. That is something that I just wish we knew earlier because, again, if just think about it, the multiple efforts of people compounded over time. What does that look like? It goes back to my first point of compounding. Imagine if you compound the efforts of people time and time again, and you do it the right way. What does that look like 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? That's ultimate time and financial freedom. So understand the concept of who, not how.
Got you. My last point that I want to make today in regards to something that I know now that I wish I knew then in business is understanding that everyone is not my customer and be clear on the problem that we're solving in the business. Everyone is not my customer and be clear on the problem that we solve in business. When we first started in business, everyone was our customer. We wanted to sell to everybody. And that's just not the right way to build a business. If you look at real brands that have enterprise value, they know who their customer is and they know how to target their customer. Ferrari and Lamborghini don't run ads because their customer is not watching TV. So for us, understanding who our customer is, right, and being clear on that and the problem that we solve has helped us grow more in business. Because early on, like I said, we just wanted to serve everybody, and that's just not how you can grow a business.
That is 100% true. So often when you're in business, you think everybody's my customer. I'm going to make money for everybody, with everybody, and I'm going to be able to provide solutions for everybody. And you start, as you grow and you really start to mature, you realize it's not true at all. Yeah. It's so false. And when you really lock in on that one customer, you're able to talk their language. You understand their problems. You understand what they go through on a daily basis. So you understand the stories. You understand how to build up the stories so that you can sell them products and everything else that goes into that. Yeah. So that is 100% great idea. 100% great point that you said.
Yeah. So for you, what's the last point?
My last point is understanding. My last point is for what I know now that I wish I knew then was the power of strategy. The power of strategy, meaning having a strategy and a real plan and going and pursuing that. So often when you don't have a strategy, when you don't have a plan, you allow distractions to interfere. You allow things to come up and to hinder you because you're not 100% focused, because you don't know exactly where you're going. So often in business, you've heard us say this multiple times, we're great starters. We come up with an idea, the same day we executing it, we making it happen. We never sat down, we never put a plan in place, we never strategized to go out and build it in the right way. It was always go. And we never communicated. We never was we was on the same page, but we wasn't always on the same page. And we found it out the hard way so many different times. So that's one thing that I wish we understood back then, and we know that now.
No, that's a great point, because I think that's one thing that has stopped us from getting the 8 figures. Not clearly strategizing and having a clear plan and hitting that plan, right? We've gotten way better at it, so I'm grateful for that. But no, guys, that's a great point, and I hope you guys got that germ just dropped.
Yeah, we just always was running, and always making money. But it's a difference between making money and building a real company. And I'm thankful now, like you said, we know that at 32, how to really build a real company, having strategies and a plan in place every week, every quarter, every month, every year to go out and do what it is that we want to do. So it's definitely different for us. So I think this has been a great episode, helping you really think about where you are in your life and taking these points and applying these points to where you are in your business career so that you can avoid these mistakes and you can really learn from us. And I think I really enjoyed this episode. So I want the next episode to be about, what we know now that we wish we knew then, but in our personal lives. What you think about that?
No, I like that. So let's definitely do that.
So guys, we have our gentleman's agreement. Our gentleman's agreement says that if you got value from this, hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening on the podcast player, hit that follow button, leave us a 5-star review. Remember, exposure leads to expansion. Peace.
Expose and expand. Peace.